Hello and welcome to Monkey Broadcast, a monthly review and discussion show with me, the Jonin Monkey.
And me, Sven the Crusader. I don't know where to go from that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, there is nowhere to go, as it seems November is the month of finales.
Seriously, so many finales. I count at least 4.
Indeed, we've had the finale of the season of Doctor Who, the finale of the season of RWBY, the finale of Naruto, the possible finale of Homestuck on the horizon, and by sheer coincidence, we usually have November as the season finale of Monkey Broadcast, since as much as we love this show, it's Christmas. We have families to be with.
Yeah, even we earn breaks doing absolutely nothing.
Hey! We are just doing nothing. It is carefully organized nothing.
That's true, and in fairness, you edit.
Oh, God, anyway. Enough of my whinging. This is a season finale after all, so let's make it a good one let's make it a good one and start with our first round.
Q&A!
This is the section where we answer 6 of the questions sent to us by our listeners. If you'd like us to answer your questions, either leave it in the comments, send it to me via PMs, or tweet me at the Jonin Monkey with the hashtag MBQuestion. Hopefully next year someone will actually do the other 2 things, but
with New Year comes great responsibility. I don't know where I was going with that.
They'll use it in one of the future films, I can guarantee it. Anyway.
If you missed it, don't worry, they'll say the line again and again and again.
And yet, ironically, when you change said line, people get angry. Anyway.
God forbid we have a bit of variety. Anyway, before we start ranting, before we even get into the reviews.
Indeed. Starting with our first question, it comes from our old friend Vice of Legends, and he asks,
what is your best and worst anime experience? Include anything in the answer, and I mean anything.
Although, I will add a caveat to said question. Let's not mention Naruto, Bleach, or Fairy Tail. We have mentioned those series way too many times in the past.
And trust me, we're gonna mention one of them even more today.
Indeed. So, Sven, do you want to start this off?
Well, for me it's easy. Best anime experience was the first anime experience I ever had. Watching Trigun on Adult Swim way too late in the morning.
Yeah, I can understand that. I've only seen, the first couple of episodes of Trigun, and I've yet to get the DVD from my rental queue, but even so, what little I did see was very enjoyable.
Yeah, it's really funny, because back in the day, whenever I first started watching Trigun, Johnny Young Bosch was the first anime voice actor I ever encountered, and he voiced my favorite protagonist. Then 2009 came along, I watched Bleach, and he voiced Ichigo. Childhood ruined!
Best? Oh god, in my case it's really hard to narrow down. I mean, there are so many shows which have a soft spot in my heart because, again, they were the first stuff I experienced at that point. Like, Dragon Ball Z, even though I know it's a goofy as hell now, I do have a soft spot for, because it was the first anime I got into and religiously watched every episode and would rush back home from school just to see what happened in the next part. I still have a soft spot for Spirited Away, because that was a really great film, and it was one of the first times I'd started twigging onto symbolism and how it could show up in media. I've got really attached to certain series like Giant Killing, Buso Ranking. Yeah, honestly, there was a lot, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, for me it's pretty clearly defined, because I haven't admittedly watched that many anime or read that much manga, so there's not much of a pool for me to choose from.
I guess also, in fairness, Trigun is one of those things that has stood the test of time, whereas something like Dragon Ball Z, not so much, but
yeah, in hindsight, it's funny looking back on Dragon Ball Z and seeing the origins of all of the ridiculous shonen tropes, even though I'd take their originator over anything they spawned.
Pretty much. And then, of course, there are some other works like Buso Ranking, which aren't bad, but ever since I've read the manga, I'm not that interested in the anime, although, that said, the theme song Makina Chiny will always be the best anime opening for me, I'm sorry.
Yep, I have to agree. Even though it has strong competition for me in the second season opening of Slayers, speaking of amazing anime experiences, which I guess says something because if a theme song is so good, it overrides the nostalgia of one of your favorite shows. That's a pretty damn good theme song.
Indeed. As for worst experiences, well, I think I had to cut it out most of the time, but I do believe I ranted at length about how Campion was one of the worst experiences I've seen in anime, but...
Oh yeah, and I don't blame you in the slightest for including that in the worst.
Yeah. And there are some other works which I haven't seen all of it, but have turned me off completely, like... Okay, I'm trying to remember I think it was The Ambition of Oda Nobunaga or something like that. Basically, the premise, it sounded goofy but could have been interesting, which was basically a guy goes to like this parallel reality where it's basically gender swap Japan in a civil war, so you've got figures like Nobunaga as women, and I thought, okay, that might be interesting. Turned off after the first 5 minutes where they meet one of the generals and her breasts bounce inside the armor, as in the metal bounces with them.
Oh my god! That is equal parts insulting and physically baffling.
Yeah, I'm just staring at this and thinking, were you really that desperate?
Oh my god!
I mean, I know there's the expression boobs of steel, but I don't think that's quite what they mean.
I don't think they meant it quite that literally.
Oh, jeez. But all of that pales in comparison to one fight scene I stumbled across, and frankly, I don't want to see the rest of this anime, even with all of the stuff I've read into it. Master of Martial Arts.
Huh, that's a title I haven't checked into. I'm probably going to be glad.
Yeah, it's combat porn.
Oh, yay.
For those of you blessed to not know said genre, allow me to break your innocence. Basically, there is a genre of entertainment in Japan which combines martial arts with erotica. How the hell does that work? Well, basically, in a massive abuse to how ki is supposed to work in martial arts, every time you land a punch, clothing bursts open. So you get the wonderful sight of people beating each other up in scantily clad, torn apart clothing, which, yeah.
Dude, if I wanted that, I'd read Bleach.
No, this is worse than anything Bleach could think of.
That's saying something!
Oh god. I mean, okay, the fight scene I watched, it's in fact one of the tamer ones, because there's hardly any nudity in it, but it wasn't just terrible in the sense of, oh god, I can't believe people actually get off on this. It's more the fact that, okay, it tried to be serious and have morals in it. Like, let me give you the context of this fight scene. Master of Martial Arts involves, like, this female fighting tournament for this great prize being the Master of Hearts. And one of the opponents the protagonist faces is a J-pop idol in a maid outfit. Because of course.
Oh, why not? You already got porn, why not play to fetishes?
Yep, indeed. In fact, fun fact, that's what all of the fighters are based on.
Oh, that's just wonderful.
Yeah, so said pop idol is winning this fight because they're having a battle on stage in front of an audience. And the crowd is on her side and are going to booing and jeering the protagonist. And said protagonist is losing the fight as a result. She can't focus, she's put off by everybody. And there is also the factor that said J-pop idol is using a sharpened microphone stick thing to tear her clothes off. So she's worried about exposing herself to the crowd, which, yes, anyone would, to be honest. So said protagonist is knocked backward through a door and it looks like she's lost. But then it turns out that the silence was because she raided the changing room. To be more precise, it's a maid outfit with cat ears. Now, why the hell she would put on the entire outfit if she only wanted something to cover herself up is it's a mystery in itself, but that's not the dumb part. No, the dumb part is that apparently she looks so good as a catgirl maid, the entire crowd who had specifically come to see that said J-pop superstar are now supporting her. And she doesn't dance, she doesn't sing, she doesn't do anything to get the crowd on her side, she just walks on in the catgirl maid outfit and everyone goes, oh wow, that's amazing!
Just stand there and look pretty.
And that's not even the dumbest part, because, like I said at the start, they try to add serious morals on this. And it comes twice in a row. The first, one of these ominous watchers in the background, who's supposed to be, like, regulating the tournament, watches from above and says, the problem is, people are always craving something new. Which, no, that's not how that works.
Oh my god, that makes less sense than Armstrong's morals in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Yeah, and then said J-pop idol gets angry because, oh, you stole the crowd, you are evil, blah blah blah, and the protagonist responds, don't rely on the crowd, rely on yourself, that's real strength. Says the woman who was losing when the crowd was against her, and is now winning because the crowd is on her side.
Oh my god. It's not only insulting in terms of fan service, and trust me, it's insulting in terms of fan service, it's insulting to me as a writer.
Yeah, frankly, if you looked up hypocrite in the dictionary, her face would be there front and center, but I should also add on a side note that everyone in said audience is male. I pulled off an impressive feat of somehow being sexist to both genders at the same time.
Oh my god. Also, I like how the protagonist of I've already forgotten the name, thank god. The protagonist of this thing has replaced Sasuke Uchiha as the definition of hypocrite.
Yeah. Oh god. More on that later, but yeah. That's my personal worst experience watching anime. Sven, do you have anything to match that?
Nothing outside of the big three, so we could just skip this. Our next question from Vice Legends is,
which do you think would make a better Mario sports game? American football or hockey?
I think they've already done hockey, so American football might be a more interesting choice. However, I do hope it comes with some kind of tutorial, and the reason for that is, okay, some backstory. As a kid, there was one moment when I was really into American culture. Like, I was fascinated by everything American and would be constantly studying it in the library. I'm trying to think if there's any actual term for this, because I know weeaboo is someone who's obsessed with Japan on the internet, and teaboo is someone who's obsessed with Britain on the internet, apparently.
Or I think the technical term is something like an Anglophile, which sounds really creepy.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any kind of American equivalent. I mean, Yankee Boo? I don't know. Anyway, what?
Yankee Boo. Okay, that's a new term.
Let's make it a fin. Anyway, but yeah, point is, as part of this, I rented an NFL game just to try and get a grasp of what it was. I had no clue what the feck was going on, because every single time it would cut to like one of those coaster schemes where you'd have a formation, I would pick one, they would move a little bit further, then you'd get nice catch or nice tackle, and I was staring as a child going, what the feck is going on? Am I winning? I don't know.
Oh, you poor child. And I guess in that moment, your obsession with American culture ended.
No, that would be more around the Bush era. But anyway.
That was whenever my obsession with American culture ended, too. For the record, I was 8.
Aww. So yeah, I would probably say American football if they could find some better way to explain it to those outside of America. But
yeah, I'd be willing to say the same thing, not for any serious reasons, but just for the fact that I can't get the image out of my head of quarterback Mario charging headlong into a team full of Koopas, just shouting, "It's a me!"
Oh, yeah, you're right, that is an awesome image. Anyway.
Now that I've provided everyone with that image, let's move on.
Indeed. Our next question comes from the Infinity Zero, and it is...
With the addition of a narrator in Hyrule Warriors and an attempt to give Link character development, do you think that the Zelda series should transition into fully fledged voice acting?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes.
I would say yes as well. I'm not sure if Link should be given dialogue, because I understand the whole he's meant to be the player avatar thing, but at the same time, for all of the other characters, I would say yes, because the only reason I can see for not doing it is if he had like a large array of dialogue options, but Zelda never does. It's usually very linear storytelling, so yeah, I would say this day and age voice acting would be the way to go, especially since now both Fire Emblem and Kid Icarus Uprising shows that Nintendo has access to decent voice actors now.
Yeah, unlike the Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn days.
Oh god, don't even remind me of that, but...
Yeah, and basically, to extrapolate upon my answer, yes, I agree with your points. Even though, in my head, I have this hilarious mental image, you know, this can only end well. I have this hilarious mental image of multiple choice Zelda, Renegade Link.
Well... The problem with that is, I have a horrible feeling that if you took the Renegade option, the game would just end with Link. You did technically save the day, but you have brought bad karma, and as such, look at the horizon. Link turns around and he just sees cuckoos blocking out the sky.
I need this in my life. Oh, imagine the day that would go down in infamy in the Zelda fandom. The cuckoo ending.
Indeed. Although, also, another interesting question comes to mind is, one thing that would be interesting to see if they ever did go through full-out voice acting, because whilst there are new characters popping up in all the Zelda games, Nintendo has this whole multiple timeline thing going on, and there's like different incarnations of Zelda who apparently share the same soul, but are otherwise completely different characters, so... Would they need to get a different voice actress every time to voice Zelda?
That's a good question. I imagine that would very quickly get to be a pain in the ass and a drain on resources.
Well, I suppose if it's a new cast every game, it wouldn't be that much of a bother, but yeah, otherwise, I'd be very interested to see if that's the direction Nintendo would take, or whether or not they would choose to have one voice actor throughout. Again, whether or not they'll even have voice acting in the future is up in the air anyway, so...
Yeah, but I would love to see it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that drastic step. They already had, like, a voice actress playing Midna, so...
Actually, that's true.
And in fact, the irony is, I've yet to confirm this, because there's only one YouTube video, and I've seen no one else attempt to confirm it or repeat what they did, but apparently, Midna's gibberish is actually scrambled English.
You know, that doesn't surprise me, because I had suspicions playing Twilight Princess, and I was actually hearing real words.
Indeed, so they've already had some voice acting, they might as well go to full fog rather than just scrambling it up for no reason.
I agree. Our next question comes from the Infinity Zero, who asks, what are your thoughts on Kid Icarus Uprising's story as potential entry for VGT? I don't know, I've never played Kid Icarus Uprising, I probably never will, and also, VGT is Jonin's program.
Yeah, as for the answer to that question, so far I haven't had a chance to play it. Again, it's in the rental queue, and I'm still umming about whether or not I should buy it, given that there are so many things coming out recently. But yeah, so far my only experiences of the story has been Chugga Conroy's Let's Play of the game, which, by the way, is really good. Even if you haven't played the game, I'd totally recommend that. But anyway,
I'll at least give that some consideration.
Indeed. But, so, basically what I'm saying is that my opinion at this point should be taken with a grain of salt, but as it stands, I would love to do a VGT on it because it's pretty entertaining, and there are some bits that I could lead into a analytical tangent. There's just one problem. I don't have any 3DS capture equipment.
Oh, that's awkward.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about purchasing it in the near future. I mean, the plus side of me doing so many freelance jobs recently is I will have some extra cash in the bank. The other problem is I have to balance that between Christmas expenses, new equipment for said freelance jobs, and stuff for this channel. And don't get me wrong, I love doing this. I wouldn't stop doing it for the world. But let's be honest, I'm not really making any money at all. It is still purely a hobby at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to make partner money off of a channel with 200 subscribers who only like 7 times out of 200.
Yeah, that's the thing. And on top of that, my poor old computer is very clogged in space at the moment, considering I have footage from several complete playthroughs of countless games waiting to be turned into talk-through parts on upcoming VGTs, not to mention all the footage I need for all the freelance jobs, which, considering that I recently spent $1,000 on an HD camera, that's not... Those files are pretty big, let me tell you.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
So yeah, I'm not sure if it could fit in footage directly recorded off a 3DS on top of that. So the long and short of it is, yeah, I'd be more than happy to review Kid Icarus Uprising, but I need to play it and I need the technology.
Which is fair enough, and again, as for me, I really can't answer that, because VGT's not my show. Even if I had a Let's Play channel, I would probably never end up playing Kid Icarus Uprising on it.
Fair enough. And the last 2 questions for this season... Who else could it be but Too Junkie on?
Oh dear. Let's do the thing.
Yeah, indeed. His first question is...
Why does Richard the Knight wear chainmail oven mitts? Is he a medieval cook?
Fantastic mental image.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. First off, I should probably explain for the few people who are subscribed to this channel but don't watch VGT. Basically, Richard was a sketch show character I introduced on that show who was basically a Dark Knight. And answering that question, I think I can... What the heck are you doing? What the heck are you... I believe I can answer this question for you, Jonin. Ahem. Yes, it is I, Richard. And please do not start that running joke. It wasn't funny the first time.
Beep.
You do well to eat Little American. Anyway, in answer to his question, those oven mitts were only in 1 episode. And that was from when Jonin was so cheap he frankly couldn't afford any other gloves. If you go back and watch the Ogre Battle review, you'll notice that I had glorious silver and golden gloves that admittedly have some odd religious scripture attached to it, but who cares? No one could tell. He didn't have a decent camera at the time either. You can also see this in that brief opening he had in the Knight's review before he suddenly decided sketch characters weren't cool and dropped us all like the plague. God damn, I hate that little bugger so much. Right, any other questions while I'm here?
No. None at all.
Okay, good. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got better things to do. I currently have a position working for Microsoft. I am their customer service manager. Now, if you'll excuse me... Yeah, sorry about that. He has a tendency to do that.
That man has issues. Also, customer service? Good God, Microsoft!
Well, it could be worse. He did try to apply for EA at one point, but anyway...
I think he would have fit right in.
He was ranting about them stealing his ideas, but anyway.
Well, now I know where the Sims 4 came from.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Hopefully that will answer that question. Moving.
Hopefully that answers it very adequately. I'm mildly shaken.
Yeah. Sorry about that. If it helps any, he was standing on me the entire time. Anyway, moving.
And our next question from Toon Junkie Zero, moving very, very quickly on from the display we just got.
Is there a question you would like to ask as me?
Interesting. I guess it would take a moment getting into character, which is funny considering if the comment section is anything to go by, you are the direct opposite of him. So.
Yeah, we had a very civil chat the other day.
The funny thing is, This is just a pure side note, but thanks to that debate, I have this hilarious image of you being the Batman to his Joker, and the fact that he's obsessed with you because he can't get you to think in his mindset.
Okay. I'm trying to process that mental image. I'm just picturing my avatar with the cowl, and instead of the bat shape, it's a giant question mark. And all across the top it says, I am the Snark!
Oh,
No ideas for Christmas presents. Anyway.
Oh god, that image. Anyway. Oh yeah, yeah.
How's that for creativity, too, Junkie?
Yeah, you're on fire today. Anyway.
Okay. Back to the question, I think.
Oh god, what was the question? I was lost.
Is there a question we want to ask as to Junkie?
Oh god. Right.
Ow, my sides.
Okay. Focus. Okay. Step into the mindset of Toon Junkie. The funny thing is, madness is something that can never be truly forced.
Yeah, you know, I think there's actually a lesson to be learned here. Don't try to emulate genius.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I guess the only one I can think of on the top of my head is, can you really bring order to madness? Especially when gerbils rule the world.
You know what? I'm gonna go with your answer because, as we've already established, I am the Snark Knight. I didn't even intend to make that fun.
Oh, this just gets better by the moment. Yeah.
And basically, I can't step into the mind of my rival, so let's just move on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that was a good question to end this year's session on.
I'd say so.
I mean,
I have got a mental image to take me into January.
indeed. So, yeah, keep sending us questions. We'll add them to the backlog and get to them all eventually. And trust me, we have had some absolutely great ones this year, and long may it continue.
So basically, here's to a great year of questions and to many more.
Indeed. So, on that note, we now move into...
Reviews! Echo!
Damn it, that's my thing. As the title implies, this is where we reviewed everything else we watched or played, and frankly, we were spoiled for choice since, like I said before, there were a lot of finales this month.
Yeah, including one major one forever, so...
Yeah, pretty much. For my section, I was tempted to do Doctor Who, but I've been doing that on my Twitter feed for the past month, and it was very enjoyable, I'm not gonna lie. It was certainly an interesting experience, and I'll probably keep it up for future seasons. And if anyone else wants me to do any other series in the same style, let me know. Also, follow me on Twitter. That would help as well. But anyway...
Yeah, I think I was the only one actually reading those reviews.
I think it was you and Roy. That was about it.
Oh, good old Roy. At least we can count on him to be our stalwart supporter.
With all that in mind, I decided to go with a finale of a series that is not quite as popular, but has the same massive hit-miss ratio. Because this month was also the finale of the second season of the web series RWBY.
Product of Rooster Teeth Studios, creators of the far superior Red vs. Blue.
I haven't seen much of Red vs. Blue, but I suspect you're probably right. Anyway, yeah, for those who don't know, RWBY is a web series, as Sven said, created by Rooster Teeth, specifically one of their animators, Monty Oum. It is heavily inspired by anime, and the premise is something like this. It follows a young girl named RWBY and her teammates Weiss, Blake, and Yang as they enter Beacon, an academy that trains huntsmen and huntresses, who, incidentally, are highly trained warriors who combat the evil monsters that persecute humanity in this series, known as Grimm. Now, I reviewed the first episode in an episode of Monkey Chatter, like way back, and I said something along the lines of, it wasn't what I was expecting, but it was still fun and enjoyable. I have made fun of it since then, so that indicates how well it maintained its quality. The funny thing is, the title of a story should be a good window into what that series is about, or indeed what it's like, and RWBY, in fact, does this perfectly well. See, the title has two meanings. Obviously, like I said, it's the name of the main character, but it is also the name of the team. Because, you see, the way the squads of Beacon are set up is that all of the students are split up into teams of 4, and then they are given a team name based on the amalgamation of all of their names. So, RWBY, Weiss, Blake, and Yang, RWBY, form Team RWBY. That is serviceable and perfectly fine when you look at it at first glance. You think, oh, okay, team name, character name, yeah, fits, nice, really good, effective. But then, when you see it used further on in the show, and when you start thinking about it, it falls apart. See, there are many other teams. In fact, there is a team of some characters consisting of Jean, Pyrrha, Nora, and Ren. They are given the name Team Juniper. Except, the anagram of their names, that's not how it's written. It is actually put JPNR, which actually spells
Sounds like you were just trying to speak Elder Speak from Lovecraft.
Pretty much every other team name, aside from RWBY, ends up like that. There is a group of bullies who are known as Team Carbon, or as it's actually written, Team Cribbin. And recently we've been introduced to Team Coffee, or as it should be called, Team Kufyi.
Well, I'm glad they ended the season before they could bring in Team Cthulhu Fatagan.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's unfortunately very indicative of the series' quality. It's perfectly serviceable and enjoyable from a glance, but the instant you start thinking about it with any level of critical eye, it starts to fall apart drastically, which is kind of sad.
That's unfortunate considering, well, they made Red versus Blue.
Yeah, and I would go on to explain how Season 1 was and how Season 2 compares, but the funny thing is, when I looked at it, again, with a bit more critical thinking, I suddenly realised that both seasons, whilst they had slightly different plots, they had exactly the same structure. Okay, first couple of episodes are mostly fluff, but they're there to establish basics like who new characters are and what the current situation is. Then you get about 2 or 3 more episodes advancing the plot, a big action episode which involves Team RWBY banding together and using teamwork to take down one giant robot, whilst an awesome vocal song is played in the background, made by the same composers of Red vs. Blue. I forget his name offhand. Is it Jeff Williams, or am I thinking of someone else?
That would be the one.
Okay, awesome. Then we get a few more episodes that are basically just the characters faffing about, but do provide some character development. Then we get the penultimate episode, which is when there are big plot advancements and it ends on a cliffhanger, before that kind of peters out in the final episodes where said cliffhanger is resolved very easily, and the other thing to look forward to is one big action scene that has a very special quality I'll get to in a moment. Yeah, otherwise, both seasons are exactly the same, and they both suffer from the same damn problem. I was trying to quantify what exactly was wrong with it, and then I realised something. The series has no real overall focus. Like, I mentioned the premise that they're all trying to be huntresses. It makes no real focus on them training. I mean, we see them in classes, but they never have to go through, like, any big major test. We never see any notes about their grades, or we don't even see anything like in Naruto, where there's a big exam they have to pass. They just told, oh, yeah, they're studying to be huntresses. So I guess it's maybe saving the world from the bad guys, except they're very ineffectual at it, since they're really at the bottom of the run, considering they're students and everything. And there's this possible idea that it's about discrimination and tolerance, except it only really applies to Blake, and it rarely gets brought up, honestly.
Oh, that's bad.
So it has this focus that's meandering all over the place. So the only things that remain consistent are the series is written by Monty Ohm and two of Rooster Teeth's main writers. I forget their names offhand. Maybe Future Me can insert it later. I don't know. So they decide to focus on two things: comedy and the cool factor. Now, this is not bad in itself. Like, I will give this series a lot of crap, but I will say that one of the reasons I have stuck with it for so long is because it has, like, a really good visual style. I mean, not just for the anime aesthetics, but it makes, like, real good use of colour and character designs and everything like that. So, in that sense, it does look really good. And obviously, when you have both the comedy and the cool factor, yeah, those work. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the battle scenes, whilst the animation is ropey at times, do look amazing, or at least have some really good ideas in them, and there are one or two funny lines. The problem is, they focus on those elements exclusively, and the story suffers because of it. Like, there are times when they will go for the comedy, even if it actually has a negative effect on the characters or the scene they're trying to do. Like, prominent example in Season 1. They find a criminal who is a faunus, basically half animal people. And Weiss is insistent on chasing them, and Blake's insistent on defending him. For reasons that I won't spoil, but are frankly really, really obvious if you think about it for more than 5 minutes. But anyway. So the two of them are having this argument in the middle of the street. And as a comedic scene to show that they've been going on for a long time, they have this shot where Yang and RWBY are just watching the two of them arguing, and their eyes are darting back and forth, and then the background suddenly swaps from the street in the daytime to their room at nighttime. Again, this is meant to be hilarious because, haha, they've kept this conversation going for about over 12 hours, but it makes both Blake and Weiss look like gits, because it makes it look like that neither of them can let go of a point. I've had arguments with people, sometimes about things I really strongly believe in, but even then, I would not maintain for 12 hours. I'd get bored eventually.
Oh, wow. Oh, giving new meaning to stubbornness.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a good way to put it. It makes the two characters look stubborn to the point that it's incredibly unlikable. Like, we're supposed to feel sympathetic for Blake and Weiss in that scene, but for different reasons. But with neither of them, they're so so prejudiced and so stubborn that they cannot let a single point go like that. It completely destroys any characterization at that point.
Oh god, that's bad.
Yeah, and you know what's worse? That's not the only example. I can name several. In Season 2, there is a conversation between Yang and Blake, which is a really important source of character development, and it's the first time we get anything related to backstory for Yang. This would have been an impressive scene, and it would have been one of the highlights if Yang had not gotten Blake to talk to her by using a laser pointer to lead her away from the computer she was working on. Because, you know, internet cat videos chasing lasers, that's really hilarious.
Oh god, given some of the later gags in Red vs. Blue, that somehow doesn't surprise me.
And as for the cool factor, it works well in fights as long as you keep up some sense of tension. Like, it's perfectly fine to have a cool factor that defies the laws of physics, or just ends someone off in a spectacularly over-the-top fashion, because, again, rule of cool, you're willing to fly with it if it's entertaining. The problem is, sometimes there are moments when they go for the rule of cool, even if it makes absolutely no sense, and it's not going to help the story in the long run. For example, Season 2 has, ironically enough, two very big examples of this. The first I've already mentioned to Sven, which is okay, every single character has what's known as a semblance. Basically, it's like an additional superpower. RWBY can move really fast, Weiss can create magical glyphs, Blake can create copies of herself, but we never knew what Yang's was. She was just meant to be this superpowered bruiser who had shotgun gauntlets, which, by the way, is a really cool weapon idea. The problem is, during this big fight with a mecha, it's revealed that her semblance is that every time she gets hit, she gets stronger, and she uses that energy to fight back. The show's exact words. And already, that's something that shoots the show in the foot, because, well, if Yang gets to use it, there is literally no tension in the fight, because we now know that, oh, if you just punch her, she'll get even stronger. So...
Yeah, so basically, and I never thought I'd say this, we have a character more overpowered than Ichigo Kurosaki in that she can't lose.
Indeed, except, and here's the funny thing, later on in Season 2, she does lose. In a normal fist fight, and she gets knocked out by someone throwing her to the floor. Which, okay, that would show that she's vulnerable and she's not invincible, except it makes no bloody sense! For those of you who are wondering why that sounds so wrong, that explanation I gave to you, that came after Yang survived a punch through a concrete wall from a mecha that was 3 times her size.
Oh my god, that's Homestuck levels of stamina.
Yeah, she can apparently survive that, but if you tire her out and then throw her to the floor, not in a kind of anime, oh my god, gigantic Kratos all the way, but just a standard judo throw to the floor, then, yeah, I'm sorry, no. If you don't show your character at least trying to use their power, if they're that blown, then frankly, it's not going to work. In fact, half of the comment section for that episode is, how the bloody hell did Yang lose?
Because it literally makes no sense.
Exactly. But then, in the same episode, there's also a scene where Weiss has a one-on-one battle with a guy with a chainsaw. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, okay, that's actually a pretty cool idea. It's a weapon you don't normally see in combat, and this is the first time Weiss, who fights with a standard rapier, has fought anyone like this. So, okay, I was enjoying the fight scene, especially when it looked like she was about to pull the finishing blow, but then the guy reverses it and gets the upper hand. Unfortunately, what happens next, like I said, he reverses it, and then he decides, as a finishing move, he throws Weiss into the air, and then swings his chainsaw straight at her, and it looks like there is no way to guard her. It looks like instant death. And then we cut away to an entirely different fight where Blake is fighting Torchwick, and she has managed to get the upper hand. And then the guy Weiss is fighting just comes in, dragging in Weiss, who is unconscious. I'm going to say that again. Weiss took a chainsaw to the waist, and she is just knocked out.
Okay, that's not anime stamina. That's physically impossible.
Yeah, but better still, she later on in the same episode just gets up 5 minutes later. No consequences, no, oh god, I've got a massive pain in my waist. Apparently, in the case of this rule of cool, you can use a chainsaw, but you might as well have been using a stick for all intents and purposes. It does the same amount of damage.
Oh my god.
That's the main problem, that those two elements keep conflicting and destroying the story from within. But I'm sure a question has popped into your head at this point. If I'm ranting and roaring at it, why am I still following it? Well, here's the thing. I was disappointed and annoyed with the first season because everything wrapped up so ridiculously well, and so little had actually been said about the characters, the world, or the main villains. I was really annoyed that it just suddenly decided, oh hey, 13 episodes, we haven't done anything yet, but we decided this is the season finale, buy the DVD. I was annoyed at that, and then I was annoyed with the first 2 episodes because they kept doing a big foreshadowing thing about how it's gonna be the end of everything we knew. The world of RWBY will never be the same again. Even the big opening song, again composed by Jeff Williams, sung by Cassie Williams, has lines like, "It is time to say goodbye, all the time seemed to fly. It's an end to the peace we always knew. There were no more bridges left unburned," basically implying that some big catastrophe is gonna happen. And in the first 2 episodes, the first episode is all of the kids getting into a ridiculous over-the-top food fight for comedy, and the villains deciding, hey, we shouldn't explain anything to our underlings that are asking genuine questions and are raising grievances about the fact that they're being treated like crap. No, we'll just say, when you need to know, you will know it.
Oh, God. That sounds like something I would write in 2006. That is not a vote of confidence, by the way.
Yeah, that is bad foreshadowing 101. And then, second episode, again, focusing on the comedy. It's mostly, haha, did you know that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a tendency to be overdramatic and is complicated to those who don't understand the rules? So, so yeah, I was disappointed and annoyed, but then something happened where I realized that the reason I was getting so annoyed at the series was because I was buying into like the ridiculous hype it was setting before each season in all of the trailers, and I was letting my expectations get the better of me. So I just thought, you know what? It's a stupid web series. It has some moments that are genuinely entertaining, but otherwise it's just dumb. So in the end, I decided if you just disconnect yourself and just watch it knowing that it's probably going to suck, it is actually kind of enjoyable, because when it is genuinely good, you kind of go, oh yeah, that was awesome, well done, you actually did good this time. When it fails, you can just kind of sit back and laugh at it and go, oh my god, they did that, they seriously did that, okay, wow, I never thought they would, but they did, good to know, okay. This is especially true of the Season 2 finale, because it's building up to this big, dramatic climax that could be potentially world-shattering, and it turns out it is, because without going into the messy details of it, basically, they're using a series of explosives to create a series of tunnels that allow the Grimm to sneak past the city defenses and get straight into the city itself. And in the penultimate episode of Season 2, that's the big cliffhanger. Like, oh my god, Grimm are now in the city. They are attacking civilians. That would be the perfect catastrophe that would match all of the build-up we've had up till that point. Then the final episode rolls around and, oh boy. First off, Rule of Cool is in effect again, as basically, aside from Yang getting knocked down by a bunch of flying Grimm once, there is no tension at all. They are perfectly able to handle most of the Grimm on their own, to be honest.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but this is where it gets silly. I mentioned before that the final action scenes of both Season 1 and Season 2 have a very special quality. And it is this. They are action scenes that involve Team RWBY, but are not about Team RWBY. They are about introducing and showing off the new cast of characters. In the first season, Blake and RWBY were knocked out, so it was up to Sunny and Penny to come in and save the day by showing off their skills. In this finale, not only is every existing character we know about coming in and using their weapons to knock out Grimm in a pathetically easy battle, but we get the introduction of Team Kufti. And, oh my god, it is one of the most ludicrous things imaginable, because the idea is that this is the season team coming in to do a job, but they do it in such a ridiculously over-the-top manner. Like, the only established member of Team Coffee is Velvet, who appeared once in Season 1, and she ends up taking backstage to another member of Team Coffee named Coco. And, oh boy, Coco. How do I describe this? Imagine the term hipster in female form. Like,
oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, she's basically like dressed to the nines in chic fashion. Like she walks up in this like overconfident walk and then goes up to a group saying, "I kid you not, you just destroyed my favorite clothing store. You have to die."
Oh my
And-
god.
And then she basically beats up a large Arya Grim, and then she pulls out her purse Gatling gun combination and basically tears the Grim to shreds. And while all of this is going on, this big over-the-top like rock song, which is basically like a long, energetic guitar riff. The song itself is yet to be released on Rooster Teeth's website, so I can't guarantee the lyrics, but from what I can make out, it's mostly word salad with stuff like train leg, breakneck, light speed, constant word salad, and then a chorus which consists of caffeine.
I thought Dragon Force were bad.
So, pretty much any form of tension that could have been built up by this catastrophe is gone. And then one of the characters just comes along and then fixes the hole. I don't mean plug it up with a boulder or anything like that. I mean literally picks up all of the broken pieces of debris and slots the hole nice and shiny so it looks brand new. That is the big catastrophe that will destroy the world of RWBY as we know it, folks.
Okay. Where do I begin with that?
And Season 2 literally finishes with the characters going, well, you know, we don't really know why the villains did this, but hey, not every story has a neat and tidy ending. I'm sure we'll find out the answer soon enough, and at least we defeated the bad guys, because, you know, why end for tension or drama or conclusion or finality or any of those things?
Oh my god, it reminds me of the ending to Sonic Chronicles.
Oh god, yeah. Literally, the only consequence of anything that happened in Season 2 is Torchwick is in jail and will most likely find a way to break out, and Ozpin, the headmaster of Beacon, is told that he's no longer in charge of security matters, which is a fair point considering that most of the people knew there was something going on, but his response was, oh, we don't want to cause a panic, let's wait and see what happens. So frankly, he had it coming.
Right. Okay. I don't know what happened to Rooster Teeth, but no. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and I could go on, but I've pretty much said all the main points. It's RWBY is a fun series to watch as long as you don't get too invested in it. Like I said, sometimes there are only moments of fun entertainment in there, but as opposed to boring entertainment, what the hell, Jonin? Screw it, I'm keeping that in.
God, that hit me really funny.
Oh, jeez. There are plenty of enjoyable moments in it. There are moments where you're just laughing at some of the appalling decisions they made, so I'm gonna continue watching, and I'll probably watch Volume 3 as well, just because I really want to see how they screw it up next. So, as long as you don't take it seriously, enjoy, is all I'll say.
Yeah, let's leave it at that.
So, Sven, what would you like to review for this end of year?
Okay, so, speaking of series about four-man teams that end disappointingly and make no sense, Naruto ended.
Yeah, that makes sense. We mentioned that several series were about to end. Naruto is ending finally, final, definitely. The story has been completely wrapped up and there will never be another chapter in Naruto. No, sorry, the series is definitely, finally over, save for the one-shot chapter he plans to release sometime next year. And the final movie called Naruto The Last, which is supposedly taking place after the manga's ending. But aside from that, it is very definitely the end.
Totally.
Oh, jeez. But no, in all seriousness, it is the finale to the story of Naruto, which is kind of a big deal, considering that ever since this show's conception, we've been talking about it. In fact, it was a monthly feature for a while where we would recap everything that had happened in the series. And it occurs to me that we never really explained the premise very well, because we were such good podcasters back then that we kind of assumed everyone knew what we were talking about when we said Naruto.
Well, to be fair, it's Naruto.
That is true. It is one of the most popular manga in this generation. But in case you don't know about it, Naruto is basically an underdog story but with ninjas. The original premise as conceived is that Naruto is a ninja boy who, because he has a demonic nine-tailed fox sealed inside of him at birth, it makes sense in context, everyone in the village despises him and ignores him, and as such he's become this loud, obnoxious brat who pulls pranks in order to try and get attention. But after some big events of the first chapter, he finally passes the first step to becoming Genin, or rookie ninja. And so his goal is to gain the attention and respect of everyone in the village by becoming the leader of the ninja clan, known as the Hokage. Eventually he gets reassigned into a squad. He's joined by Sakura Haruno, a young girl who has Naruto has a crush on, but she has a crush on the third team member, Sasuke, who is your stock anti-hero, let's be honest.
Yeah, which is actually funny to call him that, because when I think of it, he existed before Shadow the Hedgehog did.
Indeed, and now that I think about it, it's kind of ironic considering that originally he wasn't meant to be a part of the story. It was just like executives told Kishimoto that Naruto should have a rival, so he thought, you know what, I'll look back on all of these pre-existing rivals and then create this new character called Sasuke.
And we'll probably get more into this later on, but let's just sum up that it didn't work.
No, it didn't. And they're all led by their mentor, the eccentric Kakashi. Now, here's the thing. Me and Sven actually recorded like a special episode of Monkey Broadcast which was based entirely around Naruto, but I'm gonna try and keep our points distinct, because here's the thing. Not only was it so long, but, well, let's put it this way. The series started off really, really good. I mean, if you talked to us back in our teenage years, it was my favourite manga of all time at that point. Rurouni Kenshin was the only thing that could match it as far as I was concerned. It was like an amazing series that knew how to appeal to its target audience of teenagers. It really spoke to the troubles they were going through. It spoke to all the trials and tribulations of trying to prove yourself in the world full of adults that are judging you. But then it suddenly declined in quality so rapidly, mainly tied to some key moments, that the entire podcast became a long, hateful rant that was painful to listen to, never mind edit.
Yeah, suffice it to say, our Naruto and Bleach years were bitter, dark days.
Yeah. I would say that at the beginning there were two positives that drew us into the series, and you could back me up afterwards, Sven, if you think I'm right or not. The first was a core cast, which, first was a wide cast of characters, all teenagers who each had their own individual goals, personalities, and different flaws. So you had Rock Lee, who is a guy that, without going into too much detail, there were several different types of ninjutsu, super moves basically, that everyone can perform, but Rock Lee is only good at the martial arts. So basically he only has one talent, and he desperately struggles to try and make that one talent work against people who are stronger, smarter, and almost better than him in every way. There is Hinata, the quiet girl, who just wants to find some form of self-confidence in her life. There were just so many others that even if you weren't a big fan of Naruto, Sakura, or Sasuke, you could find someone in the cast that appealed to you. And the second was the action. Everyone had ninjutsu, which was like their own special move, but said ninjutsu had a very specific use and weakness of it. So it wasn't just a straightforward, I'm gonna punch you until I win battle. You had to be very strategic, because some of the moves were based around circumstances, and you had to set up the right conditions for it. Some of the moves were based around illusions and trickery. Some of them could open up new strategies if you used them right. So the battles were basically very creative and strategic. So in essence, it made the action scenes very enjoyable, because there was nothing like that before, frankly.
Yeah, because, let's face it, it's shonen. The genre pioneered by Dragon Ball Z, which is basically just throwing punches and energy balls at one another until someone dies. So a bit of multi-layered strategy was nice. And I will back you up on the core cast of characters, because I swear this always happens to me. I'll get into a shonen manga because of the side cast, and then they cease to exist.
Yeah, pretty much, because it jumped the shark, to say the least. And it's difficult to sort of quantify when and how, but I think if I had to select a moment, it would be, well, there is a time skip where Sasuke, in a big dramatic twist, in order to get revenge on his brother, who basically murdered his entire clan, Sasuke basically decides to join one of the village's greatest enemies, Orochimaru. And Naruto fights him to try and get him to come back, but in a dramatic twist, he fails. He loses the fight, Sasuke leaves, and this leads into a time skip, where 3 years pass, all of the characters grow up and get new abilities. And for a while, it looks like Sasuke is Orochimaru's henchmen. But out of nowhere, he kills Orochimaru and then decides to go off and do his own thing, which is mainly attack Itachi. All of those things would have been fine. And then, after that, he fails miserably at killing Itachi. It is then that a character named Toby decides to reveal that he is actually Madara Uchiha. Again, Sven, you can agree or disagree with this, but I think after Toby revealed himself as Madara, and then explained to Sasuke the truth about what really happened to his clan, that's when this series lost its focus and never looked back.
Yep, pretty much, because up until the introduction of Shark Jumper 2000, which wasn't as good as the original arc, up until then it was still quality. And then Toby happened. And I don't know what went wrong where, but something went wrong somehow, and the series just went off the rails. And the characters just started making no sense.
Actually, I think that is a part of it. After thinking about it for some time, both before and after that failed recording, I think I came to a conclusion about why it went wrong from there. Okay, up until that point, like, think back to the stuff like the Zabuza arc, the Chunin exam arc. When you think about it, those stories are actually pretty small scale. They are character stories. There was usually some small goal Naruto had to achieve, like he had to complete a mission, he had to convince someone to join them, he had to train for the next round of the exams. It was all about the personal character growth and them achieving small goals. When we get into the whole big Uchiha conspiracy, all of that suddenly disappears, because now we're getting into the lore of the universe. We're getting into this big plan that's being organised by Madara Uchiha, and if we're to believe Toby when he first revealed this, even though without spoiling too much it gets ridiculously complicated after that, this is a big conspiracy that's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And so all of the small arcs are gone, and it's replaced by one big overarching story that's based around this conspiracy, and everything is just pushed aside. Like Naruto completely forgets about any other goal or being Hokage. All he really cares about is rescuing Sasuke, because at this point Sasuke is now doing more and more evil acts, and Naruto is now more determined than ever, even though everyone tells me that it's probably best to kill Sasuke now since he's too far gone. I'm going to save him because he's my friend. Sakura keeps flip-flopping about whether she wants to forget Sasuke or kill Sasuke, and she then cries in the meantime because girls.
Basically, that's a running theme with Kishimoto.
Unfortunately, yes, and Sasuke, oh dear God.
Yeah, you know, it's funny about his character. There was a point in Naruto where I just stopped blaming Sasuke for the shit he did and started blaming Kishimoto. Because there's a point where even the worst anti-hero stops acting legitimately and just becomes a victim of the writing.
Yeah, pretty much. Having an anti-hero turn to the dark side isn't a bad plotline in itself. In fact, when he turned evil, I was really excited. It was a really big shake-up to the status quo. It was a really brave thing to do. But the problem was, Kishimoto was still having Sasuke doing horrible things, but couldn't make up his mind if Sasuke was supposed to be someone we were afraid of, all we were supposed to admire. And there was one moment where I knew personally I could never identify with Sasuke ever again. There was one moment when Toby, in an odd moment that's really out of character, all things considered, basically points out to Sasuke there is no need to completely wipe out the village. I mean, you could just take out the ones responsible for the conspiracy. Didn't Itachi basically become a murderer to protect his village? Why are you undermining that whole sacrifice? And Sasuke responds that everyone is guilty for enjoying the peace made by his sacrifice, and then says, and I quote, "If anyone tells me I'm overreacting, I will kill everyone they've ever known and loved. Then maybe they can understand how I feel." Oh, great. So you would inflict that same pain and suffering you've been going through onto other people just so they would stop picking on you. It's so nice to know that this is actually about wanting people to pay attention to your pain. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and the thing is, after a while, like I said, I started blaming Kishimoto solely for this because I can accept a character sliding down the slippery slope, but then there are just some things that make no sense as far as what we already knew about that character. Like, that entire scene makes no sense for someone whose backstory involves such a horrible trauma.
Yeah, exactly. And it's bad enough on its own, but normally when you dislike a character, you can just kind of ignore that scene they're in and then just move on with the rest of the story. But Sasuke becomes such a massive focus on the whole thing. And even right up to the finale, which we'll get into in a minute, it's focused on him. The final battle of the series is between Naruto and Sasuke, which, okay, fair enough. That's what we expected, and it's pretty fitting for the series as a whole, since, Sasuke was Naruto's first rival, yada yada yada. Allow me to give you a super quick sum up of how that battle goes. Yay! We've defeated the big bad and saved the world! We've ended the Great Ninja War! Great. By the way, even after seeing what happens when you do try to take over the world, I'm gonna try and take over the world. What? Yeah. In fact, I've now sealed up all the tail beasts and I'm going to kill all the ninja leaders. Ha 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 ha. And I plan to kill you, Naruto. So let's go into the same location we fought the last time for the sake of dramatic convenience and then fight. Wait, why are you doing this again? Because I've discovered what it truly means to be Hokage. It means shouldering all of the darkness and burdens and sins, and I will become the embodiment of all the pain and misery, blah blah blah, ninja philosophy, blah 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 blah, and that is why I will kill you as the final connection to that. I'm not gonna let you do that, you're my friend, I'm gonna punch you. Well, you've punched me really hard and defeated me, Naruto. I always thought you were the weakness and that I was fighting to get away from you, but as it turns out, your friendship reminded me of the bonds I had with my family and the ones I've been missing all this time. I guess I really thought of you as a friend, Naruto. I guess I was really aspiring to be like you all this time. So does that mean you're friends? Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah! And this is the really stupid part. That would have been a great finale if anything in between now and when Sasuke left made sense.
Indeed, because you may think I'm being frivolous, but the entirety of the final battle is Sasuke philosophizing, debating, arguing, and you might as well sum it up as darkness, no parents. That is, because it makes just about as much sense.
Yeah. Oh god. He surpassed Anakin Skywalker, and that's an accomplishment.
Oh, indeed. And even then, even after that battle, when we get to the final part, he's still bloody philosophizing.
Yeah, and again, like I said, that would have been a great conclusion if any of this character's motivations, which changed like 8 times through the course of one arc, made any sense whatsoever up to that point.
Indeed, and again, if you think it is silly to focus on one character, everything else goes to crap at this point, because eventually the big conspiracy Toby has leads into the Great Ninja War, which is basically when all of the ninja clans unite against Toby, Madara, and all of the unworldly forces he's built up. How long did this go on in print?
Well, I remember this being around the time of when I really started actively hating Bleach, which was around chapter 363 there, which translates into about chapter 400 for Naruto. which means about 300 chapters.
Yeah, and in print time, oh my god, I just realised something. The Great Ninja War started within the first year of Monkey broadcast.
Oh my god, it did. That was 2009. It went on for 5 years.
Yeah, it's just, oh my god, the arc. It's really amazing because this arc went on forever. And there was small character moments, but that's not the main focus. No, because as a way to build up the numbers of his army, Toby manages to arrange it so that everyone who has ever been important to the history of Naruto is resurrected. This not only includes past characters who've died, but also everyone who has ever been mentioned in passing, everyone who's ever been mentioned in backstory, every single legend, every single myth, even people we didn't know existed before this fight began, came back, alive and well.
Yeah, because hey, if you're gonna try to give some lip surface to character development, why bother creating actual honest-to-God characters?
And what was even more insane is that a lot of the penultimate battle before Sasuke and Naruto relies solely on lore that was introduced in this war. That is how ridiculously convoluted it came. Like, it's all based on out of nowhere they reveal, by the way, remember Chakra, that the power source of all ninjas that is based on a real martial arts philosophy that we didn't need any explanation for? We decided to create a backstory for it and talk about it in the middle of this big war. It was...
Yeah, and just by the way, that whole Tree of Life plot, thanks for ripping off Final Fantasy IX, Kishimoto.
I wish it was just Final Fantasy IX, because frankly that whole Tree of Life thing, there's been Yggdrasil from Norse mythology, which has been used in countless stories since then. It's not original anymore.
Yeah, and might I add, countless stories better than that, because we had the Aether Tree in Final Fantasy IX, and we had, what the hell was that tree called? Well, the Tree of Mana in Tales of Symphonia.
I'm biting my lip about that because it's ironic. Anyway, moving on. And on top of that, because we've revealed the most powerful big bads, any semblance of strategy goes completely out the window. Like, again, there are lip services to it in the occasional battle here and there, but ultimately, most of the battles, even the one between Naruto and Sasuke, come down to who has the bigger energy attack. So basically, everything that made the series great and enjoyable and unique got pushed aside in this massive, lore-driven, nonsensical, action-based mess that lasted for over 5 years of print time.
Yeah! It's like if you were to take Doctor Who, and take the old formula of it being very focused and episodic, and compare that to Stephen Moffat's ridiculous overarching stories that make no sense, and blow that into 5 years of it.
So, yeah, basically, after a while, any good favour we had for the series just completely deteriorated. I mean, there were still, like, genuinely good moments that reminded me of why I followed the series, but otherwise it was just, even after all that, nothing could satisfy us at the end of it. It was just so long, contrived, and ludicrous that we just couldn't really excuse it anymore.
Yeah, and even long after we decided that nothing could satisfy us, the series still continued to disappoint. I'm looking at you, Kaguya, giant space flea from nowhere.
Again, established by lore that was only introduced in this villainy battle, but...
Yeah. And then, of course, there was the ending itself, which I was okay with up until they canonized Sasuke and Sakura.
Oh, yeah. We should probably talk about that. The finale itself. After the final battle with Naruto and Sasuke, everything's resolved, and Kakashi, their mentor, is named as the new Hokage, and Sasuke decides that he's going to travel around the world deep in meditation to find the true meaning of ninja philosophy, blah blah blah. So,
yeah. Yeah, good luck trying to atone for that one, man.
In fact, I do actually like the fact that Kakashi said, you know, you're supposed to be in jail. You are one lucky bastard. It was...
Yeah.
It then leads into a chapter many, many, many years later where basically everyone grew up and had babies.
Including Sasuke and Sakura. On the plus side, Naruto and Hinata, and Shikamaru and Tamari. I have shipped them since 2006, and that made me happy. On the downside, Sasuke and Sakura.
Yeah, here's the really painful thing about that. Okay, it was gratifying because, as Sven pointed out, it kind of confirmed a lot of the fan couples we had been supporting since God knows when, such as Naruto and Hinata got together, and it was kind of nice seeing the previous generation. And yeah, we saw Naruto, we saw Kage, that was awesome. But the only two weaknesses we had, first of all, to bring out what Sven was saying, Sasuke and Sakura, it's not because we're shallow and they don't think they're compatible, it's that the series has insisted that they're a canon couple, despite the fact that, well, there's no other way to say this, right up until the literal end, Sasuke treats Sakura like crap.
Yeah, that is no other way to put it. It was outright abuse.
Indeed, it's like, let's just count up the ways he has been rude to her, he's ignored her feelings, he has stabbed her, I'm not making that up, I think he's actually done that twice, he has used Genjutsu on her to make her believe that he stabbed her a third time, and then even after he's come back to the Earth side, he makes a half-hearted apology, and then even when Sakura says, look, can I please come with you on this big ninja journey? He basically goes, no, sorry. It's a personal thing. I'll be back.
Yeah, like, that's basically the summary of it. Like, if you really had to have Sakura end up with someone, why not Rock Lee, who appreciated her?
Indeed. In fact, I could go on an entire separate rant, but basically Sakura herself is a massive train wreck of a character. It's like, if you can imagine the least progressive female character you could think of, it's Sakura, because her only purpose is to have a crush on Sasuke. She has this thing where she thinks, oh, I'm behind everyone else and I need to take the lead, only to be completely inconsequential in all of the major battles of the series bar one. And we see every other character, both male and female, grow up into important roles, and we see Sakura, she's house cleaning.
Yeah. Now, I'm gonna basically sum up my entire feelings on the matter like this. Sakura is one of those characters like Clara from Doctor Who. I desperately want to like her, but my god, the writers do everything in their power to subvert that.
Yeah, I did like Sakura for a time in my teenage years, but then I looked back and realized that literally the only reason I liked her was Kate Higgins' performance in the dub, and that was it.
Yeah. Really, overall, I can sum up my thoughts on Team 7 by this. One really good protagonist, and two victims of the worst writing I've ever seen.
Yeah, pretty much. And second problem I had for the ending is, again, comes to the fact that nothing could really satisfy after that finale, because everything happened so easily. Like, okay, everyone's together. We don't actually see how they got together, or any kind of confession or marriage or anything like that. They just ended up together and had babies. That's good to know.
Yeah. Which, as far as time skip endings go, manages to be even less satisfying than Harry Potter's time skip ending. And let me just preface that by saying, that's an accomplishment!
Oh dear. But yeah, either way, I suppose it could have ended a lot worse. At least it ended on a happy note, and I will admit I actually did like some of the designs of the kids, and I actually found it pretty amusing that Salada, that Sasuke and Sakura's daughter, does actually have major daddy issues because of Sasuke's vagabond nature.
Oh god, yeah. It's an even more bizarre revelation that the first generation of Naruto characters proved to be, like, equally neglectful parents as the first generation of Avatar The Last Airbender parents.
Oh god. Yeah, that was kind of bad. But yeah, overall, like I said, considering the downward spiral of quality, it was at least a good ending to a series that unfortunately, like so many things, it starts off great, but then, well, plummets straight over a cliff, so...
Yeah, I mean, there are good moments sprinkled throughout, which is more than I could damn well say of Bleach.
Yeah, I think that's actually the best way to sum it out, because even when it got bad, there are worse series out there. It's just disappointing. I think that's a big problem. Even now, I still have fond memories of, like I said, I made a connection with those cast. They did give me some important inspiration during my teen years, and I'll always be grateful to the series for that. But at the same time, I cannot deny that it went south. It jumped the shark. Insert metaphor here about dropping in quality.
Yeah, in the words of the Nostalgia Critic, it nuked the fridge. But
Indeed.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that, and I'd say it was bad, but it at least managed to have some decency throughout. For that, I guess a status quo ending is better than some of the alternatives, because really, I left Naruto the same way I was in chapter 698. I had 2 OTPs and endless bitterness.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, on my end, I can say that at least I finished this series. I still haven't managed to do it in Bleach.
I'm not sure I'll manage to do it with Bleach.
Oh, dude. So yeah, with 2 big reviews out the way, we'll now slip into...
Quickfire reviews!
You go right ahead, I'm done.
Yeah, we're tired after 2 reviews. This is normally where we talk about everything else we've read, watched, or played in the maximum time limit of 60 seconds, but yeah, I'm flagging as well. This has been a big, long episode. I mean, end of year and all of that, so there is only one amendment to a review I've already done, which I'll post here. So,
The latest season of Doctor Who. Like I've said, I reviewed every single episode on Twitter, so allow me to just sum up my thoughts on the season as a whole. Overall, despite some hiccups, it's definitely one of the better seasons of New Who, I would say. The only really bad episode I can think of was the one where Forrest covers up London, because once again, nothing happened for 45 minutes, but it was still a really fun, entertaining series, and even when the episodes were good, they were at the very least enjoyable. And I know several people would disagree with me, but I felt the finale lived up to the promise. The only weakness I could think of was Clara, who seemed to be going all over the place and displays some really selfish and unlikable behaviour. But unfortunately, that's par for the course at this point.
Wow. Okay. A character who goes all over the place, victim of writing, and who displays some really badly selfish behavior. Am I talking about Clara or Sasuke?
yeah, that question better remain unanswered, I think.
I just figured that's as good a way as any to end this review.
Indeed. And I think this is a good way to end both this show and this season of Monkey Broadcast. Once again, thank you all for listening. It's been a fun year, and keep leaving comments, keep sending in questions. I know it's a small audience, but we still love making this stuff for you guys.
Yeah, so please keep sending in questions into the new year. We have few enough people here as it is.
Indeed. Who knows what the new year will bring, but let's hope the next ride will be as fun as the last one. And on that note, I've been the Jonin Monkey.
And I've been Sven the Crusader. The snark this city deserves.
That was Monkey Broadcast, a monthly review discussion show hosted by the Jonin Monkey and Sven the Crusader. If you feel that you've been the subject of slander or that your copyright is being misused, please contact me and I'll get round to fixing it as soon as possible. And we also welcome any forms of criticism, be it feedback or your own thoughts and opinions in the discussion section. Until next year, have fun, kids!